Call to order the Mojave County Planning and Zoning Subcommittee meeting for January 15th, 2025. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag, the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God.
Roll call.
Commissioner Bradshaw,
Present.
Commissioner Helms, Vice Chair Gillette, Commissioner Patillo,
Present.
Commissioner Martin.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Item 1, presentation and discussion regarding community meeting and general plan update to discuss goals and policies. This item is for discussion only. No formal action will be.
All right, before we jump into the goals and policies, I just wanted to go over a couple of updated proposals that staff has received since from the previous meetings that were held. So the first one is going to be in the Golden Valley area. This is that Dorado area. And so you can see on the left is the existing general plan designations. The yellow is low density residential. The orange color is medium density residential. The red is general commercial. And then there was this open space for drainage with these major washes that run through the site. And so this is one that they came through the process to the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Supervisors for a rezone for future subdivisions in this area with these existing general plan designations. Those rezones were turned down. As we went through the public participation process and the public meetings, we received a lot of comments wanting to change this area, these designations, back to a suburban development area. So we did receive this revised proposal. You can see along the perimeter of the entire site where all that low density residential was, is a proposed change to suburban residential. This would be 1 acre lots. The suburban residential area ranges from 1 to 5 acres in size. So they would have to be at least 1 acre along that perimeter there. And then they got rid of all of the medium density residential. And then the rest of the internal of the site would remain low density residential, which is going to be anywhere from 6,000 square foot lots up to those 1 acre lots. And then you can see this hatched area that was open space. They've specified and called out as public parks on this updated proposal. So this doesn't change staff's, so at the previous meeting for the Golden Valley area, staff's proposal was to change this all to suburban residential based on the comments that we received at the meeting. Along with this proposal was a petition that was signed by 30 property owners in the Golden Valley area, or 30 residents of the Golden Valley area, that supported this updated proposal change. This doesn't change staff's recommendation, but given the petition that we received and the updated proposal, we wanted to present this to the subcommittee for any thoughts or conversations on it, if you guys wanted to direct staff to make any changes there. So we'll open that up for conversation.
This is Commissioner Patillo. I would say either leave the designation as it is, the existing GP designations on your map, or was the new proposal submitted by the property owner?
Yes, this new submittal was submitted by the property owner or the developer.
Okay. Well, I would be fine moving ahead with either leaving it as is or going with the proposal that the developer is proposing. You know, it just smacks of something that just doesn't seem right. Arbitrarily changing it without their buy-in, and it seems to me that they've got buy-in on what they proposed. So, you know, in a world where only my opinion mattered, which I know that's not where we're at. I would say let's move forward with their updated proposal.
This is Commissioner Bradshaw.
And that's all I have to say at this point.
Pardon? I missed that. Was somebody talking?
Go ahead, Commissioner Bradshaw.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, reviewing this proposal, you know, there was a lot of discussion before about the densities, the overall feel. You know, currently with the low density designation, seems like they could currently put in quarter acre lots across the whole property, or at least a fair amount of density. And I like this because it has the buffer. I think it's in keeping with the uses that are in the general area. Particularly, it's got the commercial, it's got the public parks designations, which I really like. The open spaces for the drainage. To me, I'm in favor of going with this updated proposal. Just, I mean, it does create those buffers that people were looking for, even though there's still a lot of density out here. But I think a master plan look is a much better idea than just a blanket density. So I'm in favor of it.
Let me switch the slide here for a second. So this is the existing general plan. So not the proposed update, this is the existing one. So you can see this is the subject area here, just so you can kind of see some of the designations around it. Again, staff is happy to go along with the recommendation of the subcommittee. The overwhelming comments that we received at the meeting in Golden Valley and in written comments were to change this area back to a suburban development area. So that was staff's recommendation at the previous meeting. But yeah, this does create the buffer around the perimeter that would be similar to the existing areas. And then certainly through the subdivision process, they would be required to put in the necessary infrastructure that is expected with developments of this density.
Madam Chair, a quick question. We did receive a petition of individuals that are in favor of this proposal, is that correct?
Yeah.
And do we know how many were on that petition by chance?
There were 30 signatures on the petition in favor of the new proposal.
Yeah, turn your mic on.
Sorry, apologize. Yeah, so we received a petition with 30 signatures in favor of this revised, updated proposal that's shown here on the right.
So, so we're hearing everything that the commissioners are saying as well. And just to kind of give perspective, we did have that public meeting. And at the public meeting, if I remember correctly, we're roughly around 70 individuals were at that meeting. Not everybody there was directly against it, but we'd say the majority were against keeping the plan the way that it currently is. So by getting a little bit more context from other citizens, I think the commission subcommittee can make an informed decision on, okay, what is best for the area. And also keep in mind that the general plan is exactly that. It's just a plan. It's not necessarily what is going to be there, because they still would have to go through the rezone process. So if the subcommittee does decide to update with what is being proposed. That's certainly something that staff can take forward, especially with some of the comments that we received from the petition, people in favor of it. We can see the community, some of the community would like to have that, and obviously some of the community would not like to have it, but we would take the direction from the subcommittee of what direction they would like to go. Ultimately, it does get approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission and then the Board of Supervisors. And then even if it's still part of the plan, it still needs to get that rezone process as well. So there still will be that opportunity for the public to come and speak, and many opportunities on this matter as well. So I just wanted to throw a few of those things out there.
Do the commissioners on the phone have any additional comments?
Commissioner Bradshaw here. One of the things that I am anxious about is the property owners have come and said, this is how we want to develop this. They have a plan. They've got a path forward. And again, like I say, it's a master planned idea as opposed to just a blanket designation that ultimately ends up in a hodgepodge development, in my opinion. And so I'm really in favor of this. The owners have come and said, this is how we want to develop this. This is our path forward. To me, it makes sense to accept their proposal. I don't see that it's right. Again, it's a lot of density, but I don't see that it's unwarranted in the area. And obviously they'll have to bring in a development plan and bring forth all of the ideas and vet them. To me, I think this is a great move forward.
Commissioner Patillo has something to say.
Yeah, I basically would just reiterate what Commissioner Bradshaw had to say. To me, this is a good way forward. I see the developer with their proposed revisions to their plan as somewhat of a compromise with some of the public comments we've heard. There appears to be community support as well. So I would like to move forward with their updated proposal.
Madam Chair, I also just wanted to mention, I don't know if the commissioners online know, but the developers are here in the auditorium if they have any questions of the developers. And I believe this is just an open communication meeting that we can talk, and if we have any questions of the developers or if they want to say anything, I think we can entertain that as well.
Okay, I'm going to call the speakers up. And if the commissioners have any questions for them. First, we have Travis Pennington.
Hello, Travis Pennington, 2247 Mesas Drive. I work with Engel Homes, the owner of this property. I just would like to agree with some of the statements that made. This, we feel like, was a compromise, right? We were instructed by the Board of Supervisors to work with staff on there during this general plan update, participate in this process. And so we feel like this is a compromise somewhere in the middle between what the residents out there wanted and what we as a developer think we need to do to make this an economically viable moving forward. I'm available to answer any questions.
Do you have any questions? No? Okay, our second speaker is Tyler Angle.
I didn't have anything else to add right now.
Okay. So should I close the?
Yeah, sorry, Chairman Martin. So if that's the end of the discussion, and sounds like the direction we're hearing is to move forward with the updated proposal with the general plan, we can certainly work with that.
I guess my question would be, so this is an informal meeting. We're just here kind of discussing, like I mentioned before, but the direction we received from Commissioner Patillo and Bradshaw is that we'd like to maybe change this. Commissioner Martin, do you have any other insight on this particular development, or is there anything you would have for the group, I guess, on this one?
No, I think this is a good proposal that they put forth. And again, they do need to go through the necessary steps. But I think it's something that we should work with.
So receiving that direction from all three commissioners that are here today, I think staff will make those changes in the plan, and then when the Planning and Zoning Commission, when we bring the entirety of the plan to the Planning and Zoning Commission for approval, that this portion would be changed from what we were previously showing in the other meeting.
Okay. Do any of the commissioners have any further comments?
I don't on this item, but I do have some questions or comments on some other areas when we get there.
I do have one more updated proposal that we've received, this one from the property owner. This is in that area east of Kingman. So in this gray area here, this is the Rancho Santa Fe subdivision in the city of Kingman. And then you can kind of see this pink line here is the proposed interchange off of Interstate 40. So it would come down, and the meeting that we held for this area, the proposal that we received and we're moving forward with was for some general commercial to be added within low-density residential areas. So this whole area is low-density residential. You can see here, this is the current general plan. So up here would be the interchange coming down south there. And so the proposal was to add some general commercial as this road would connect from I-40 and come down and ultimately connect to Wallapai Mountain Road. And there was a proposal for general commercial in this area as well. Since then, we've received an updated request from the property owner that instead of general commercial, to change it instead to medium-density residential. Again, I think off of a highway, or the highway interchange, this becoming a major road through here with commercial proposed along it. I think either general commercial or medium density would make sense. So staff has no objection to making this change to medium density residential. And with that, we'd open it up to the commissioners if they have any comments or questions on this one.
Do the commissioners have any comments or questions?
This is Commissioner Patillo. I think my comments on this would be, I mean, that looks like a reasonable request, so I would be in favor of updating your proposal.
Commissioner Bradshaw here. I don't have any serious concerns over this revised into being medium density. I'm going to throw it out there just like I did originally. I think this area should ultimately be in the city of Kingman, but that's a different concern.
Also, just to give a little context, I believe when we held the subcommittee meeting and this proposal was presented the original proposal was presented at the meeting, I believe there wasn't much of any objections at that meeting with the attendees. I can't imagine that the changes would be much different, so.
Okay, question. Will staff have the proposed map changes available to the commissioners to review much prior to our next meeting?
So Commissioner Martin, so this is the last of the subcommittee meetings that is planned, but yeah, so we will get the updated, all of the updated proposed maps and the updated general plan as a whole, and get that finalized and everything. And then, yeah, will get sent out to the commission prior to the commission meeting that it will be heard at. So we need to, once we finalize everything, we'll get it on an agenda for a future Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for the entire commission to look at and discuss and review, and then vote to give a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors.
Okay. Do we have any further discussion on item 1?
So that's it from the updated map proposals. And so with that, we also, at today's meeting, we want to go into the goals, policies, and implementation measures of the general plan. So this is a big chunk of what the general plan consists of. So currently in our general plan, we have 64 goals in a variety of different categories, and then each goal has subsequent policies associated with them. And then those categories all have implementation measures for how those goals and policies will be achieved moving forward. And so these are the categories that those goals and policies fall under, ranging from air quality, natural resources, noise, scenic resources. It gets into the different land use types of rural, suburban, and urban designations. It talks about transportation, historic preservation. There's a mining element, there's hazards management, economic development, infrastructure and transportation, parks and recreation, other services and facilities, and the cost of development. So some of those categories are required to be put in the general plan by state statute. Others are just kind of for how the document is broken down in explaining what the general plan is and those goals and policies. As far as proposed changes, so as kind of a general overview, this process that we're going through was never intended to be a major overhaul. We're not trying to rewrite the entire general plan. What we're trying to do is update it and make sure that it meets the county's goals and policies and vision for, the next 10 years until we do this process again. So one of the big changes is our area plans. So a couple years ago, the area plan maps were incorporated into our general plan. And so this update is looking to ensure that all of those applicable goals and policies of those area plans are added to the general plan. And in going through them, most of them are already in the general plan. A lot of the goals and policies in those area plans were either taken verbatim from the general plan and put into the area plans, or they were taken and reworded, but the general gist of those goals and policies are pretty similar throughout the area plans with a couple of differences. And so when I first started this, looking at it, my kind of first thought was to just have an area plan section of the general plan and list out those area plans and have all of those goals and policies in there. But because of how redundant that seems to make it, I think it may be better to just make sure that all of those goals and policies are incorporated into the respective sections of the general plan. So a lot of them are going to go over natural resources and some of the improvement requirements, the infrastructure requirements for different levels of development and things like that. And I think that we can accomplish that and make sure that all of those goals and policies are reflected in the overall general plan. Because like I said, I think most of them are already in there. And then also in looking through the goals and policies of the general plan, I think it may be beneficial to consolidate some of them, or even kind of cull the list down a little bit. And so just some of the examples that staff has come across in doing this review. So under noise, so there's two implementation measures under noise. One of them is to consider the adoption of standards for maximum permissible noise levels by land use category. And implementation measure number 2 is if the board adopts such standards, enforce compliance. So I'm looking through that. It doesn't seem necessary to have implementation measure number 2. I would think that if the board chooses to implement these types of noise standards, that enforceability would be included in the development of those standards. And then looking, so in the housing section, The implementation measures reference a study that was done back in 2006. And so I don't think we need, all it does is say that this study was done. I think we can get rid of that one. Also, you can see number 7 here is a housing affordability study was completed. Oh, that's the one I was talking about. And then number 8 is periodically review current and reputable housing studies such as the fair market rent documentation system. And then number 9 is periodically review current housing studies and trends to better strategize the encouragement of affordable housing developments. So looking through that, it looks like number 8 is included in number 9, so I don't know that we need to have a separate one for number 8 there. So that's the kind of things that we were looking at. A couple of the changes that we did look to make went over were for water and energy, and this is something that we talked about at our community meetings that were held throughout the county as well. So first one, water being a big issue here in Mojave County. So the initial one was to consider the quantity and quality of water resources throughout the county. And so the change there would be to monitor and protect the quantity and quality of water resources throughout the county, just to have a little bit more proactive language in there. So we want to add those protections. And then reworded policy, the third one there, basically saying that the county shouldn't approve rezoning projects that may cause aquifer depletion or land subsidence unless there's effective mitigation measures put into place. Rather than relying on the ADWR determination in that, granted that will probably be the determining factor in a lot of those, we want to reflect that, hey, we want to look at this from a variety of angles there. And then with energy, with the recent changes that staff went through with working with the board and the Planning and Zoning Commission as far as solar facilities in particular, but renewable energy, we wanted to tweak the goals and policies there as well to reflect that we're looking at appropriate energy sources such as wind and solar, and we want to include conducive locations. So rather than allowing them in any location, we want to make sure that these types of developments are going to be put in areas that aren't negatively impacting the area around them. And then adding that last policy down there that the county should prioritize renewable energy projects that provide power to the communities within Mojave County. So that is what staff has proposed. We sent a list of all of the goals and policies out to you guys. Rather than reading each one individually, we just wanted to take that and open it up for discussion or comments that you guys have in looking through those.
Question, can staff get someone at some point from ADWR or ADEQ to come in and go over their concerns and what we should be looking out for?
As far as future development or what?
What's going on with our water so that we can make educated decisions?
I think that's certainly a request that we could put out there to ADWR.
So one of the things that the county is being proactive about ourselves, because there's not a whole lot of data out there, or wasn't a whole lot of data out there with ADWR, I think the misconception is that they know how much water we have or when we're going to be depleted, and I don't think that's the case. They have now been mandated by state statute to monitor or to get water budgets for each of the basins within the state of Arizona, and they're working through those essentially on what is there and what the potential budget could be for each of those water
And when you say
basins.
budget, I mean,
And they have test wells in each of the basins that they can see maybe the level of the water in those. And I believe the Wallapai Basin, this basin that we're in, and that's been a topic of a lot of discussion, is scheduled for their, to be on that review, I think in 2026 is when they're going to be completing that. Aside from that, Development Services, where the county has continued to fight for ways to monitor and to determine how much water we have, at least in the Wallapai Basin itself. And one of the things that we did is we did partner with the City of Kingman and USGS to create a model for how much water is being used and then how much water is in the aquifer, and can make a determination of how much water we have based on the usage that we're using currently. We ran that model, and I believe when it was presented, I think a year or so ago, there was 130 years of water sustainability in that aquifer with the usage that's going on right now. We're currently still monitoring that. We did a flyover of the area with our own drone to see what kind of crops are being grown in this area, and we're going to update our model that is being done as we speak, actually, and we'll be able to get even better numbers of where our aquifer is. The board also just approved 3 monitoring wells for this area. The monitoring wells will be something that we'll be able to see every 15 minutes what the water level is in this aquifer, and those are being constructed. We're still in the phase of constructing those. Just to answer your question, to have ADWR or ADEQ come and tell us where we're at, I don't think.
Or any reports that
Yeah.
are out there, can we as commissioners receive a copy?
Absolutely, yeah. I can give you everything that we have, that we presented on when we did that USGS study back originally, and then the new information should be coming out here shortly, and we'll get you that information as well. And that would be something that we
That would be
can,
great.
we can present to you, absolutely.
Okay. Shall we close the discussion on item
Well,
1?
I believe Commissioner Bradshaw mentioned that he might have some other comments on some of the items that we had listed.
Yes, thank you. My area is of concern is kind of the Wallapai area. Actually, we had a discussion, I think, in December, which ultimately was denied by the Board of Supervisors. Ultimately, and it was a 1 acre development, 1 acre lot development, adjacent to some of these suburban estate areas. And I just wanted to look at that area, revisit that, based on the discussions that were had by the residences and through the Board of Supervisors and Planning Commission meetings. There's a lot of suburban residential areas out there that I feel like that maybe we should revisit and maybe downgrade may be the wrong word, but reduce the density to suburban estates in a lot of those areas. Everything out there is 5 acres at least. And so particularly based on this water discussion, I just wonder if we should revisit those areas north of that Cali Blanca, and east of Stockton Hill Road. There's a lot of large areas that I feel like that are probably miscategorized as suburban residential.
We're gonna see if Matthew can bring it up on his map here, and so we can kind of see where we're talking about. One thing I'd like to just kind of throw out there, when we're talking about water, just to kind of put it in perspective as far as the usage, the entire area of the city of Kingman, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, uses around 12,000 acre feet a year of water. and that's about 60,000 residents. Where I think we're seeing a lot of the issues with water is not necessarily with development and residential units. They do not use that much water. Adding subdivision here, subdivision there, overall with the usage that the entirety of City of Kingman uses isn't going to make a big difference. But the farms do. And I just sat in a water group meeting down in Phoenix. The governor was actually there. They're working on legislation to be able to help rural areas like Mojave County to be able to have regulations on some of these larger farms that are taking a lot of the water. And that's really where a lot of our concern is as far as water is concerned. When it comes to a subdivision, we do require that they put on their plat or their final plat that they have water adequacy. So that's something that's required on each of our plats. If they don't have that, they have to state on their plat as well, and that they don't have water adequacy. And if in that moment the board could decide, hey, we don't want to move forward with your subdivision, because it does have to get approved by the board if they don't have that water adequacy. So I would say we keep seeing that everybody keeps bringing up water for these subdivisions. Is really not, the subdivisions aren't really big water users as in the grand scheme of the Wallapai Basin, where a lot of the water usage is coming out of is those larger farms. But I think Matthew was able to pull up the general
My
plan for
monitor
that area.
isn't on and I can't see that.
You can't see it that far.
I'll try and explain it a little bit. So this is the area that Commissioner Bradshaw was talking about. So right here is Eagle Ranch Road. This is previously approved subdivision that was platted. There's a final plat that's been approved. They're finishing out the improvements on that subdivision in order to release the assurances and start building homes. And then these lots right through here were the ones that came in for a rezone to AR for 1 acre lots that was recently denied by the Board of Supervisors. I think that was the beginning of this month that the board denied that. So this whole area is a suburban residential area in the general plan. We do have some lots that are less than 5 acres. So there's some 4 acre lots, 1 and 2 acre lots over here on the other side of Cheram. There's this one right here is a 3 acre lot. So there is a little bit of variety in those zoning, but certainly the vast majority of these are over 1 acre. And so that proposed subdivision was pretty small. I will zoom out a little bit. So this is kind of the overall north of Kingman area. So you can kind of see so this yellow is going to be our low density residential. So you have city limits, then we have low density residential, then we have this suburban residential, then you get this green lines here. That's suburban estates. So suburban residential and suburban estates both fall under the suburban development area. So the suburban development area is anywhere between 1 and 5. Suburban residential is going to be, I believe, if I remember correctly, is between 1 and 2. And then suburban estates is basically 2 to 5 is kind of the general lot breakdown for those different densities. And then the purple, I know it's hard to see colors on a screen this small. This light purple here is rural residential, so that's going to be 5 acres or larger. So as you're looking from a wider view, you have the city of Kingman, you have the Butler area that are very small lots. Most of those lots are smaller than 6,000 square feet. Then you have low density residential, then that suburban, and then it gets into rural. And so there is, in the general plan, there is kind of it gets less dense as you get out and get further away from the city, which I think is overall a good planning practice. But certainly the existing development in this area isn't there to match these densities that are in the general plan. From from staff's perspective, we continue to see proposed subdivisions and proposed development come in for these types of subdivisions, like the one that the board ultimately denied earlier this month. And again, because part of the process of going through a subdivision is providing the requisite infrastructure, I think staff's perspective of keeping this as a suburban development area, I think does still make sense. But certainly we're here to have the conversation, and to look at it in more detail.
Great, thanks for that perspective. And I do see that there is a transition between, the higher density down into the lower, and it just, there's all the roads out there are they're non-county maintained, they're dirt road. It just seems like that for the next 10 years, maybe we shouldn't try to press, to the level of 1 acre. I guess maybe that's where I'm seeing that. That's my take on that area. And it looks like there's, a couple of sections that maybe we are designated as suburban residential that maybe could be taken to the 5 acre or 2 to 5 acre or something like that. Just because I get Director Holtry's discussion on water. I think he's spot on. 1 acre residential does not deplete aquifer like a large scale farm operations. I get that, but when you get down to the infrastructure and all of the facilities out there, it seems like we're overtasking what facilities are there.
What I have seemed to notice from the public comments, I gather most people move to Mojave County because they like the wide open spaces. They don't want to live in the city. So I agree with Commissioner Bradshaw in maintaining more open spaces. That's just something I think, I keep in mind.
No, I think that's a good thought, and certainly, yeah, if the subcommittee would prefer, we extend that suburban estates designation further down, so that those are going to be more that 2 to 5 acre range instead of the 1 to 2 acre range. I think that's something that we could take a look at. I will also add just kind of one more piece of the puzzle here is that when you have the lots that are out there are, a lot of them are between 5 and 10 acres. And so if somebody were to come in and rezone their property from, a 10 acre lot size down to a 2 acre lot size to maximize how many lots they can create, that's still only 5 parcels, and that's not a subdivision. And so what you're going to see is if we make that change, you're still going to have a lot of people buying property, splitting property to sell it, to have more homes. But they won't have to go through the subdivision process. When they don't have to go through the subdivision process, there's no improvements that are made outside of just splitting the lots, and maybe if they do a parcel plat, dedicating right-of-way. They don't have to make any improvements to that right-of-way. Sometimes they have to dedicate it. Whereas if what we have out there, where you have a proposed subdivision, we have Calle Castano, that's a paved road, and the roads that would be created with the subdivision that was just denied, they'd have to provide a paved road. They would have to provide water services and electric services and bring those improvements out there. Because I think also, along with, we just don't want more people and we want the larger lots, there's also a lot of complaints that this is going to bring more traffic and the roads can't handle it. And if they're just going through parcel plats and splitting it that way, then there's no traffic studies done and there's no offsite improvements that are done. And so that's something just to keep in mind as well, because from what we've seen throughout the county is lot splitting isn't going to stop, but when you have developers that are able to make those offsite improvements, I think that's beneficial, not only to those residents that are going to be buying those lots, but also to the property owners in the area that are going to benefit from that added infrastructure.
We need a healthy balance. Sure.
I had one suggestion earlier when we were talking about the housing goals. The county did do a Mojave County Housing Needs Assessment that was spearheaded by the Community Development Department, and that was completed in September 2023, so 16 months ago. And that study had a lot of data that that those consultants put together. I actually know about it because they asked me and a bunch of other people in the community to come sit on some roundtables to ask us questions about housing in the county. But in there, because of the information that it does have, it almost seems like we could replace that 2006 study that was referenced with this 2023 study. One of the data points in here that it has, I don't know if we got the guy back there that pushes the magic button, but in there it says in the next 20 years that they're projecting that in the unincorporated areas of Mojave County that we are going to need 23,000 dwelling units. So a data point like that, I feel like would be something really good to have in the general plan and referenced a study that the county paid for and has some good information to support housing. I am a developer, so I'm biased, but we are projecting, and the consultants were projecting, the county's own study said the county is going to grow and we do need housing, and it talks about where would be appropriate and good places in the county to build that. And so that was just my suggestion there, that maybe we incorporate or reference that study in the general plan. And then one other little thing on the subdivision that was denied, there was confusion. There is a county dedicated road, and it is paved, and it is county maintained, that touches that subdivision. There was confusion at the meeting. It's not my subdivision, but there's a road there.
Madam Chair, I would agree that I was going to mention this. I forgot about it when we started getting into some of those other discussions, but we did do that study. The county did that study, and I think that would be a great insert. We just replaced that 2006 one with the 2023 one, along with a lot of the data points. And one thing that it did show is that this area is growing, and we're going to continue to grow. And managed growth is what we would like to continue to have. Like Matthew was saying, with the subdivision, we do get that infrastructure that we require. So if there's not a paved road to that subdivision, we're going to make them do that. Whereas if we're getting the Wildcat subdivisions, where they're under our requirements, just five parcels, then it makes it very hard to get that infrastructure that we're looking for. I think the stepped up approach that we currently have with low density, suburban, then suburban estates, then rural, I think is what they teach us in our planning school, but also I think is a sustainable way to grow when we know we're going to grow. People keep coming in and they say, hey, we bought out here because nobody's out here, but property rights extend to those that have property right adjacent to them as well. And the general plan is something that we've established as a county. It's a regulation set forth by state statute, and we have it in there so we can have sustainable growth as we continue to grow, and we know we're going to grow. And so by keeping this kind of stepped approach where we have the low density suburban estates and rural, I think will help in that plan that was mentioned by Tyler that the county did, and it's going to help us get that goal for all the amount of housing that's going to be coming into this area, especially Kingman area. But we can revise it if the commission or the subcommittee has specifics. Commissioner Bradshaw, if you had specifics on what areas we'd like to maybe reduce or change, let's sit down and we can maybe look at that and we can revise it. I do believe that we do need the higher density area in that area as we continue to grow. There are plenty of areas out in the county that are very rural and will probably stay that way forever. But near this city center, city of Kingman, I think we do need to have that stepped approach.
Yeah, great. Thank you. I appreciate this discussion. I think that it is valuable. And I'm looking at these areas. One of the things that is interesting in this area that I'm noticing, there's several sections out there that are actually state trust land owned that are under that suburban residential designation that again probably won't be developed in 10 or 20 years. So perhaps leaving it as is adequate because of that reason.
Is there any other questions or comments or anything about any of the goals and policies of the general plan?
We'll have time to review the goals and policies before that, because we were just given this, so I haven't had a chance to review it at all.
Yeah, I mean, you're certainly welcome to continue to look through it and offer any comments you have to staff. And then, yeah, once I think it might be beneficial once we get everything updated to have, so right now the goals and policies are all spread out through the general plan, but maybe once we get everything put together, we can also have a separate list of those goals and policies that are still in there, kind of separated from the document itself, so you can review those individually. And we can get that sent over to all of the commission once it's ready to go for review.
Any further discussion on any items? Okay, hearing none. Call to the public. Anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, we can adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned.
Thanks, Commissioner Martin, for coming and being here with us today.
Throw me in here.